Okay, yes. I'd like to open by quoting the statement of Shinran Shonin. So please join me in putting your hands together in gassho. When the thought of saying the Nembutsu erupts from deep within, having entrusted ourselves to the inconceivable power of Amida's vow, which saves us, enabling us to be born in the Pure Land, we receive at that very moment the ultimate benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. End quote. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Good afternoon, everyone. I am truly honored to have this opportunity to share the Buddha Dharma with you. And today, I'd like to deliver my message sharing the story that I learned at one of the Otaniha Betsuin. So, have you ever heard the name, the Hisako Nakamura? Yeah, the Hisako Nakamura. She was a Japanese lady. Yeah. Her life was extremely hard. However, she firmly lived her life with the Nembutsu teachings. I learned her story long time ago, but last year I had a chance to know the details of her life when I visited Shinshu Otaniha, Takayama Betsuin in Gifu Prefecture. Then at that time I was deeply, impressed and was reminded of, the Nembutsu, teachings that Nembutsu teachings supports, our life. Then, I thought this topic may be good for this, WEHOPE, because the, Nishi ministers and Higashi ministers, gather. So I would like to deliver my message, sharing her story with you. Hisako Nakamura was born in 1897 in Gifu Prefecture in Japan. When she was 3 years old, because of difficult disease, she lost both her arms and legs. Then her struggle and suffering started. When she was 7 years old, her father passed away. Therefore, her mother got married again and brought Hisako with her to the new family. However, the new family didn't give a warm welcome because of Hisako's disability. But therefore, when she was a child, she was forced to live right in the middle of various difficulties such as discrimination and separation. Because of such a situation, her mother really worried about Hisako. Then she started doing strict discipline for her. She wished Hisako to become independent in the future. As a result, she discovered original techniques for eating, writing, sewing, and knitting without arms and legs. Can you guess how she wrote? Yeah, have you ever heard this story? She held a pen in her mouth and she wrote. She was doing calligraphy too. She had a competitive spirit, so she never gave up and always tried to improve her skills. Then when she was 20 years old, she entered into the entertainment business. At the show tent, she performed as the Dharma girl, doing an act of sewing, knitting, doing calligraphy, and so on. Thus, she made special efforts and lived along with the struggle of her work and the other hardships of daily life. However, she couldn't find the joy of living. Also, she didn't have the hope for living. She really wanted to find the meaning of her life, so she started listening to the teachings of different religions. She was looking for the way to live her life. Then when Hisako was 42 years old, the turning point arrived in her life. She was asked to speak to some group at the Jodo Shinshu Temple in Tokyo. I think she was asked to share her experience with them. At that time, a man sitting next to her was saying, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. At that time, she remembered that her grandma was always saying the same thing. After that, the man recommended Shinran Shonin's writing, Tannisho, and said to her the following things. So he said to Hisako as follows. Just say the Nembutsu. Turn everything over to the Buddha. At whatever time, the Buddha is always holding and supporting us sentient beings. Let's just call out the Nembutsu. Then Hisako decided to seek to understand the Nembutsu teachings. After that, she left the show business and committed herself to a life of listening to the Nembutsu teachings. She visited many ministers and scholars and asked them to teach her the details of the Nembutsu teachings. As a result, her thoughts on her life were transformed. Then finally, she was able to accept the reality of her body as one, without arms and legs. Now she came to have a new point of view for her life. Then from around the time when she was 50 years old, she began working as a writer, going on lecture tours and visiting not only Buddhist temples, but also schools, prisons, care homes. She shared her experiences and the Nembutsu teachings. Until she died at the age of 72, she inspired a number of people to live positively and gratefully, cherishing this unrepeatable human life. So, this is the story of Hisako Nakamura. Actually, when I visited the Takayama Betsuin, I heard more about that. I briefly, explained, her life. When I heard that, I was deeply impressed. Actually, I cannot imagine the life without both arms and legs. Also, I cannot imagine how Hisako felt in her hard life. However, even in such a situation, she firmly lived her life with the Nembutsu teachings. I couldn't help but remember that the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, certainly becomes the strength of human life. Then I mentioned that her thought was transformed after she encountered the Nembutsu teachings. And can you guess which part of the teachings, saved her? As you know, the Nembutsu teachings, or Shinran Shonin's teachings, doesn't require us to make efforts to remove our blind passions. Instead, it is important for us to accept the guidance that Amida Buddha saves us just as we are, and to entrust our heart to Amida Buddha's primal vow without any doubt. At first, Hisako Nakamura couldn't accept her disabled body, her circumstance, and her life. However, she encountered teachings that accept and embrace all of her. Then the Nembutsu teaching became the firm ground of her life. Then after she encountered the Nembutsu teachings, she expressed her joy of living. And let me introduce some of her words. When I visited the Takayama Betsu-in, I found I bought some book written in English. So let me share some of her words with you. So quote: "Even if my arms are short and I don't have legs, I am being caused to live. Further, I believe that giving thanks from the bottom of my heart for the remaining parts of my body and using those parts to the fullest of their abilities is the unobstructed path. Illness, poverty, catastrophe, I will take on whatever is given to me. Why don't we have such firmness at the bottom of our hearts? My real good teacher was not the various teachers I met. It was my own body. Not having arms and legs was my true teacher. The true teaching that I heard from my teachers brings about the transformation of troubles, sorrow, and suffering through saying the Nembutsu into joy and gratitude. This is the true gift of the Nembutsu. This is the true gift of the teachings of Shinran Shonin." These are the words of Hisako Nakamura. Then at the beginning of my message, I read Shinran Shonin's word. Actually, this is from the Tannisho chapter 1. And I learned that Hisako Nakamura deeply treasured this passage. I will read it again. When the thought of saying the Nembutsu erupts from deep within, having entrusted ourselves to the inconceivable power of Amida's vow, which saves us, enabling us to be born in the Pure Land, we receive at that very moment the ultimate benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. Okay, so today I have been talking about the life of Hisako Nakamura. In our lives too, we encounter different kind of events, such as happy things, pleasant things, or sad things, difficult things, unacceptable things, and so on. You may have encountered some hardships that you cannot share with others. However, fortunately, we encounter the Nembutsu teachings. Amida Buddha always accepts, embrace us as we are. Then through listening to this teaching, we would be able to accept everything in our life and to firmly walk the path of our lives. This is the great benefit of of Amida Buddha's compassionate working. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for giving me this precious opportunity to share the Buddha Dharma with you, and let us live our everyday lives with the Nembutsu teachings. So thank you very much for listening. So let's say the Nembutsu together. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.